If you're ever asking the question, should I start a side business or should I try to grow my career? That's the question I get hit a lot of times, and we want to walk through a couple of questions here, a framework, if you will, because that's what we say in the corporate world is a framework, is how to think through that, how to make a decision of whether I should start a side hustle, side business, or try to grow my career. And a lot of times when we're stuck, when we're feeling kind of isolated, we may be wrestling with what's next? What's next in my career? What's the next thing? How can I get more money? How can I get more control? Those are the kind of things that I have, as I'm talking to people, they are struggling with. So let's go through this. This is just a 5-question thing here about how to get some clarity about whether I'm going to do one or the other. So I'm Dale Callahan. This is the Company of One podcast. And in this podcast, we help people take control of their career, to take control of your income, to find more passion, more opportunities, more meaning in your work. So whether it is working for a Fortune 100 or working on your side, it's the same thing. You are earning money in exchange for the service you provide. How you do it and the umbrella you do it under doesn't really matter. That's where the Company of One model comes in. All right, so let's dive into the 5 different things to think through. And I just want to, I hope if you're here, if you're listening to this, this is probably something you're struggling with now, or you're sensing that I need to figure out what to do. So we want to start with the first one being, what's the target? What's the goal? All right, so often we start running after what we see on social media, or what we see some friends do, or what we are seeing in the marketplace. Because there's a lot of things on social media that push side businesses, quitting your day job, all that, and they make it all look super, super glamorous. And of course, you'll be making $1 bazillion a year in no time. And we all know that a lot of that is smoke and mirrors. So think instead about that kind of stuff, and think instead about your job. Start thinking about your target, what you are after. And I would put this in terms of what's your income, whether it's your freedom, or whether it is your impact. So income, freedom, or impact. Daniel Pink, in his book Drive, talks about the fact that once we hit a certain salary, we're no longer driven by money. We all want more money, but it's no longer the driving factor, or the first factor, if you will. And what's that dollar figure? I would have to guess it's a little different for each one of us, and depending on where we live and the cost of living. But generally, if you are listening to this podcast, you probably are there. So the issue is, that's probably not what's driving you. What do you do, right? It's not usually, I need to make more money to survive. You're past that. Probably. If you're not, then that probably is your driving element. But when I say income, if income is your target, many people really want to seriously grow their income, whatever that would be. And I would think about having some targets. What does that look like? Some realistic targets. And I'm not saying a number is off the table. I'm just saying what kind of work are you willing to do, what makes sense. I like to use the 10X model. Now that may be a leap for some of you, but if you're trying to really grow something and you're serious about it, what would 10X look like? What would 10 times that look like? Maybe for you it's 2 times, maybe for you it's the same. It doesn't matter. Well, income is a driver. Freedom is oftentimes a driver. And we're seeing this. One of my clients one time, she told me, she said, I'm not really concerned about income. I want my life back. I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week. I want my life back. So is that you? Is it trying to take back control of some kind of freedom at work. And for many of us right now, and we're seeing again the return to office. If you're a working from home person, we're seeing the pressure to return to office again. And for many people, that's a deal killer. And the corporations will figure that out probably. We'll settle out at something. But a lot of good people will go away when they enforce that. The third one is and by the way, freedom, as we saw during COVID, some people, it's the freedom to live where I want to live, to not be stuck in the city where my headquarters is. I want to live on the beach. I want to live in the mountains. I want to go live near my parents. I want to live near my kids, whatever it is. And I don't want to be stuck to the zip code that is dictated by my employer. To me, I think that's an awesome way to think about things. But the third one, though, is impact. Here's the third one under your target is your impact. Do I want to have impact? Who do I want to impact? And as a Christian, for me, having an impact of the gospel in everything I do. It doesn't mean I'm not preaching necessarily, but it does mean everything I do is here to serve the Lord. What is that for you? What kind of impact are you trying to have? What kind of difference are you trying to make? So, and there may be other things. If you look at the book Drive again, as I was diving in, the two things that came out of Drive, or three, there was three key ones, but the two ones that stood out to me was, we want purpose. After you have enough money, we want purpose and we want autonomy. We want the ability to kind of control where we go in our lives in terms of our career and expertise. So, what's your target? So think about what your target is. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, Dale, all of these things matter to me. That's probably true. If you had to order them, which one is most important? What are you thinking about? What is the impact? What is the target? The number one target, because you can imagine, as I'm trying to think about, do I stay in a career path or do I do a business path? The decisions I make, they should be made by what my goal is, right? That's what we're trying to do here. So what's your target? That's the first one. So think through that. Think through where you're trying to go. What's your purpose? What are you trying to dive at? Or drive at here in your work life, or your company at one, as we would call it. Number two, audit your skills. Where are you in the skill place? And maybe I should say that, let's just call it skills. To think about where you are. If you are wanting to start a business, you're more than likely going to be using the skills you already have. If you're a software developer, a project manager, whatever your skills are, they're going to probably transition over to the business you have. You're probably not going to go be certified in some AWS certification and tomorrow and the next day start a business doing that, because you really probably don't have any experience to track to that. You may, but where are those skills? Because to start a business, you're probably using the skills you have. So if you like and enjoy doing the things you have been doing or that are in that domain, then a business probably is a good fit for you. But if you are sitting here thinking, I don't really like doing it, I want to maybe move into, I spend a lot of time helping people move from tech person to leadership person. And there's a glass ceiling then. As a tech person, as a software person, project manager, financial person, whatever our tech is, we are the blue collar. You're sitting in the blue collar realm. It's now white. We've changed the shade of the color, but we're no longer we're a different sort of laborer. We are the labor of the knowledge-based companies. And so as a tech worker, that's where you are. But to cross the chasm into leadership, well, that's a different thing. We speak a different language. We care about other issues. We probably don't care about the things that you've been caring about nearly so much. We don't care about software. We don't care about projects. We care about other things, and they're all related. We speak a different language. We have different roles. We have different things that are important to us. And so if you're going to be growing in your career and moving to leadership roles, which is where many people that I work with are doing, or more leadership, if they're already in a leadership role, you're probably acquiring new skills. You're probably okay. You've got to be okay with letting go of the, hey, I've been a coder, I've been a manager, I've been a systems manager or systems developer, whatever your title function is. You're going to be having to you're probably going to need to let go of much of that, because to be a leader, we don't need you to lead. We need you to lead that, not do that. So as you think about your skills, which one are you in? And that sounds really silly to maybe talk about, but I see so many people that are tech people, and they move into leadership realm, and they find they don't enjoy it. They go back and do the tech stuff. They're to the point misery. I mean, they just really don't like what you see going on in the leadership circles. So you kind of got to think about where you are. What skills do you want to be using? What skills are you looking to acquire? And what skills will you need to go do this other thing? Because it's probably not the same thing it was before. So the third thing we want to think about is and this is especially true if you are thinking about a side business, but it's going to fit on both of them, is how do you test? One of the things on a pure company level, we think about Apple or Tesla or something, we don't generally just throw something out in the market. We test things first. Most companies don't go out and just spend a whole bunch of money developing a product that they don't know that somebody will buy. We, as novice in that world, oftentimes think that's the way it is. We need to go build it and they will come, right? Generally terrible advice that doesn't really work that way, or very rarely. So how can you test your ideas? So if you're looking to test a business, then keeping your day job and of course doing something on the side to test it. I have this desire to build a software model that I can sell to banks to improve their productivity. Okay, great. That's great. As long as you're not working for a bank and going out and competing against your employer, how can you do that? How can you test that out in the market? How can you start talking to banks and customers and seeing if they will not only talk to you, but they will spend a little bit of money on you to consulting, doing some minimally viable product. Test in the idea. While it's not a big risk. The other thing that we can see is, and this is the one people so often overlook in the corporate world, we can test moving into the next realm. So if it's leadership, and it's not always that, but if it is a leadership role, we can volunteer ourselves to take on some role that puts us in the leadership domain, that we're shoulder to shoulder with the leadership people, we're doing the things like the leadership people are doing. And if, for instance, in a lot of, in one company I was in, it was United Way. They were big at going around and supporting United Way, and if you chaired that for your group, your division, your whatever it is, then you got a lot of face time with leaders. You would get a lot of personal face time with, a lot of people would see your face, you'd get a lot of presence, and it was a good chance to see, do I like that, or is this really terrible? Is this really a terrible life to live? And I hate these people. Many people came to that conclusion. I hate these people in leadership. So either way, if you're looking to change, how can you test the waters a little bit on the other side, whether it's a corporate or a side business? Maybe it's both. But how can you do some of these things to make yourself realize that it works? And we've seen so many people. When I was with a telecommunications company, a lot of people, they were union-based people. They were what we would consider blue-collar people. They would get moved into leadership management roles, promoted, if you will. Sometimes they were making less money, but promoted. And they hated it. Many of them, we would call it taking back your tools. They would say, I'm done with the old tie and white collar and all that kind of stuff. Give me back my tools. Let me go back and do work. But they were in an environment that they could try it, and there was no, you're stuck here forever. So testing things, and look, companies do things. Big companies, small companies, like I said, we always test ideas. We should too, right? We don't have to be sold out 100% to, hey, we're going to go do this, because frankly, probably if you've never started a company, you don't know what that looks like. And if you've never been in leadership, you don't know what that looks like. If you've never moved from Division A over here to Division B, if you're in marketing and you're going to go over to the engineering side, you've never been over there, you don't know what it looks like. So testing the waters, finding ways to engage a little bit before you leap, makes common sense when I say it, but that's not usually what we do. We usually leap. So number 4 is counting the cost of things. So as you're making decisions and you're thinking through things, there is a cost to do everything, right? And in the last episode, I think it was episode 212, we talked about the cost of your salary. That is one of the most expensive things you have, your income. Because there's so much opportunity cost, and there's a lot of hidden cost to your salary. So there's a lot of cost with doing nothing. Do nothing, that costs me. But there's also cost if I want to move. I might have to move locations. I might have different salary changes, pro or con. I may have to retrain. I may have to act differently, depending on what you're doing. If you're starting your own company, you're going to find yourself marketing and sales, guaranteed, in a way that you're not used to. And for many people, that's uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, especially for technology people. It's very uncomfortable to feel like they're selling themselves. The truth is, you're selling yourself anyway, and maybe the reason you're stuck is because you're not doing a good job of that. But we feel we have this baggage that sells is uncomfortable. But either way, however you're looking at going, whether you're looking at going over here or going over here or staying where you are, there's a cost. What are those costs? Now, I probably don't know all of them in your situation, but what are they? You probably do know most of them, or at least you have a good idea. What are they? Get them on paper. And by the way, all the things I'm talking about here is putting it on paper is just awesome. It just really helps you think through things. I've got this on paper, so this is how we do things. Number 5 is focus on your identity, not the activity. Now, this may sound a little weird, but so many. I remember when I was a software person. Right, I'm a recovering software person now. I'm a recovering techie, I guess I should say too. When I was doing software, I thought of myself as a software person. I somewhat identified that way. When I was doing just telecom engineering, I kind of identified that way. And not only you identify with your profession, not only at work, you do outside of work. In your church, in your friends groups, it shapes a little bit about how you act. It becomes part of your identity. And many of us, the activity we do at our job becomes our identity. And I think that's a terrible thing. It's a trap. It's a huge trap, because there's a lot of handcuffs that go to that identity that's not even real, that activity, I should say. So think about, I remember somebody telling me when I was a software person, and he told me, he says, you're not a software guy, you're a problem solver. That's what software does. and I got what he was saying, but I couldn't get past I was a software person. But what he was trying to say is, if you're a developer, you're nothing but providing solutions for companies and automating their solutions and processes. And you just happen to use computers to do it. Somebody else might use machines. Somebody else might use a large workforce. Somebody else just may write better processes on paper that run smoother. You're a process person. And once I started thinking about it like that, it really changed the game for me. So think about that for yourself. So don't get caught up in that identity. So let me tell you the one identity to think about is at the end of the day, it's not a question of a side hustle, a business, a career, or anything. Scripture says, if you're a believer, I haven't always been, so if you're not, I can totally identify with both sides of this. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. Now that's my identity. Because first and foremost in all the stuff that we're talking about, it's to serve Christ. To serve the Lord. And if that's not you, then what are you serving? What is the bigger picture? That's your identity. That's what you want to think about. So again, let me rephrase all these really quickly. What's your target? What's your goal? Think through that. Then look at your skills. What skills do you have? Do you want to keep using them, or do you want to skill up? How can you test some of these ideas you're thinking about? Low risk. When I'm saying test, we're taking low risk. What are the costs to going over here, starting a business, staying here in a career and trying to move, or doing none of the above? There's cost to all of those. And the last one is look in the mirror. What is your identity? Now, if your identity is not in Christ, I invite you to check that out, to open up the Word, I understand you may not, that may not be it, but you've got most people, I hope you do, have a bigger reason for doing what you're doing than I'm writing code or managing projects or things like that. All right, so what we're going to do, we've got some toolboxes we're working on right now. If you're experiencing, or if you're thinking about some new ideas, we've got an idea engine. Go to dalecallahan.com/idea engine. You can find that. We're working on a toolbox to help you kind of wherever you are. It's probably going to be at dalecallahan.com/toolbox, which may be there. I don't know yet. What we're trying to do is help you get unstuck wherever you are in these decision processes. And we get so stuck and caught up in these kind of things because we're busy with jobs, and we look up 2 or 3 years later, I'm stuck in the same situation I was stuck before, and maybe I'm just deeper in the mud. We want to help you be there. So you can get this link, get some of the other links to some of the relative things, related podcast at dalecallahan.com/213. This is episode 213. We will be back with you